welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me again. Really interesting one. As you can see, I'm back in the Thunder Cave. I've been turning the Thunder Cave into a bit of a kind of a YouTube studio as well, so I can do some recording like this. And believe it or not, it is really hard to set it up with lights and getting the sound right and everything. Right, this is gonna be my final sound check, because if I have to do this anymore, I'm literally gonna blow myself up. And I don't know if I've nailed it now, but this is where we're gonna start and we'll see how it goes. So I'm gonna do a little walkthrough of the YouTube studio right now. Right, okay, some changes have happened. Bit of a YouTube thing going on here. As you can see, it's a bit of a squeeze. I got my phaser strapped up against the window there, and I've got my Thunderbird leant up against the wall. And I got myself a little radiator here, which is keeping me nice and warm. But so here's my little YouTube setup. So the plan is that I kind of sit on that chair there. I've got a camera mounted here, which is a Sony a7 III, just mounted on there, with a video light there and another video light here. And then I've got another little light that's just throwing a bit of light onto the tool rack there at the back. And then behind this helmet, I've got another little light that's just putting some light into the corner there. And man, even though this is not the most advanced setup in the world, just getting the lighting right. Obviously I had to black out the window there because the sun starts coming through. Oh, my life. It's been a nightmare to set up, but here we are. My little YouTube setup. It's just about working. And I wear one of these little microphones here that just goes onto my t-shirt. Also got a little monitor there, so that's when I'm sitting down, I can see whether it's getting the focus right and that I'm not wasting loads of time talking only to find that I was not even in focus, because that's not a good thing. Setting this up took me the whole of yesterday just to kind of get it basically right, and even now I'm like, is it the right thing? I don't know. You let me know what you think. Okay. So that's that bit done. You got any questions about that, just fire them over. I know people are interested in starting channels and what kit to use and stuff like that. And I've done kit videos before and people are not really that interested. Well, some people are really interested, but most people aren't. So I'm not going to do another kit video, but if you got any questions, fire them over and I definitely will help you out if you need it. So anyway, last video, we talked a little bit about the demographic of bikers seems to be getting older and older, and that brought up so many comments. I mean, you guys have got a lot to say about this stuff, and it does seem that things are really changing in the motorcycle world, from just the simple interest in motorcycles. I mean, when I was 16, I couldn't wait to get my 50cc license just so that I could have my independence to get around. That kind of whet my appetite for motorcycles, and that's been with me my whole life. Whereas these days, I don't see that many young people getting onto 50cc motorbikes and getting out there and getting that kind of taste of motorcycling and the freedom that it can give. And that's a huge thing. So we're seeing that in the kind of the manufacturers and the shop fronts seem to be closing down all over the place. And I think the change in the motorcycle market over the next 5 to 10 years is going to be massive. And a lot of it's to do with price as well. So really expensive to take your test, expensive to buy a bike, maintenance is expensive, and bikes are built in such a way now that actually doing your own maintenance on a lot of the stuff on a bike is not really that possible. It's kind of all gone a bit digital in some ways. So that has probably had a huge effect on people doing their own maintenance on bikes. So interesting time for the bike market, interesting time for the demographic of bikers. And we'll just have to see where it leads, I guess. Another thing that has been happening recently that has been a real surprise to me, really humbling, really flattering, is that I'm getting contacted by different kind of manufacturers, bike related stuff, saying, can we send you our kit for you to review? Now, I've
I've decided that I don't really want to have a kind of a review channel, because there's a lot of those out there. I don't think I'm that good at kind of reviewing stuff, but there are things that I'm really into that are really easy for me to review because I'm kind of really into them, like the wingman of the road tent that I used when I rode down to Turkey and back. It really kind of fitted in with my whole philosophy of biking. And so for me, that was really easy to review, and I wanted to review it, and they didn't pay me anything for that. They got in touch after the event actually and said, listen, thanks for the review. We want to send you something. And they sent me this lovely kind of kitchen thing, wingman of the road kitchen. I have yet to use that, and I will use that. Looking forward to it. But that kind of fit into my philosophy of biking. But I was contacted by a company after the last video saying, hey, we're following the channel, really like what you're doing. We'd love to send you some of our stuff to review. And obviously you get really kind of wowed by it. It's like, wow, man, that's really cool. Thanks so much. Let's have a chat. So we started to talk about it. And the product is originally made for kind of cars. So it's a CarPlay thing. So it's basically a screen that connects to your phone, and everything that's going on your phone kind of goes on the screen. So you've got everything from your Spotify, your sat nav, you name it. I think you can even watch films on this thing, which is pretty dangerous if you're driving a car. It's very dangerous if you're riding a motorcycle, without doubt. And actually, when we started to have the conversation and they said, oh, we'll send you all our stuff over, I realized that kind of product is really not what I'm about as a biker. And I don't want to take some kind of weird moral high ground thing of like, I'm a kind of a purist, because some people are really into that stuff. They turn their bikes into almost like, it's like their apartment on wheels, if you like. And they've got all their screens there, they've got all their kit there. And, you know, and I love that stuff as well, but it just isn't for me. So even though they offered me like loads of their kit and they said, we'll give you a percentage of everything that's sold through the channel. So it's actually a bit of a money-making thing as well. But I realized that it really wasn't what I'm about as a biker. Like when I get on my motorcycle, I want to disconnect. I don't want to be getting notifications about social media stuff and emails. I don't really even want to be listening to music very much. And when I rode down to Turkey, I thought I would. I thought I'd listen to audiobooks. It's something that I haven't really done before. When I hadn't done a really long ride, like thousands of miles over multiple days. I hadn't done that before. So I thought, oh, I need my music and everything, When I got onto the M4, I had my headphones in and they just died. And I thought, oh, they just lost connection. But they literally died. They broke within about 20 minutes of me riding down the M4 towards, you know, the Channel Tunnel crossing. And it turned out to be a real blessing, because I could then just completely kind of dial in to where I probably really needed to be. And it helped me to focus on like the here and now, and to be thinking about stuff that I needed to think about. And I spent the next like 13 days or however long it took to travel down to Turkey in complete silence in my helmet. It was just me and my thoughts. Now you might think, well, that's a bit sad, isn't it? But in all honesty, it became the thing that really helped me on that trip to deal with some stuff that I needed to deal with, to kind of work through some stuff that I needed to think about. And when I came back from the trip, I realized that the fact that I didn't have loads of distractions was one of the keys to that trip for me being so effective. So long story short, I've said no to this company, that I'm not gonna have any of their kit and I'm not gonna review any of their stuff. And it was a bit of a stepping stone for me, a bit of a milestone for me in the channel as well, that I thought, no, this channel is, I'm gonna stay true to myself with everything. I'm not gonna start promoting stuff that for me I don't believe in. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not taking the moral high ground on this. You may have your bike just full of screens and it's totally fine. But for me, I want to remove myself from that as much as I can. And even going, I thought I've reflected on my trip last year and kind of trips that I'm going to take in the future, and reflected on what I did last year, and thought, you know, the thing that I didn't like some of the time was having my phone kind of stuck to the handlebars. It was all right, but because I use it just for satellite navigation. But I thought to myself, well, if I didn't use it for sat nav and I had a map and I planned stuff out with a paper map and I got lost and I needed to talk to people and I needed to figure stuff out, it would have been even more fun. It would have been even more interactive with other people. Maybe I've met up with other bikers and had to ask them questions about, well, how you got across this country, or where did you camp? Or it would have led to so many kind of stories and so many moments that I think that maybe just having this, the convenience of this on my handlebars, maybe in some ways it meant that I didn't experience some things that I could have experienced. Now, Google Maps is just awesome, and the ability to go on to kind of booking.com if you need to find somewhere to stay, it's really convenient. So tech is so convenient, but the point that tech becomes the thing that stops you experiencing the stuff that you need to experience, then tech has just got in the way. So me, I'm really careful with tech, that I don't let it kind of take over on my life. And there's certain times that I would just disconnect from Facebook, disconnect from other social media platforms, so that I can just be a bit more present, because it kind of creeps up on you, doesn't it? You start looking at stuff and you start interacting with stuff, and it becomes like, it becomes all consuming. So stuff that doesn't fit in with my philosophy of riding, I am not going to get involved with on this channel. I really want to stay true to myself. And I read a book about that, actually. It was called The 5 Regrets of the Dying, I think it was called. It's a bit of a morbid title. But one of the 5 regrets, one of the 5 regrets of the dying that was documented was this thing about being true to yourself. And I think often we can kind of allow ourselves not to be true to ourselves, even in small things like this, and we start to realize that we're not enjoying it anymore because we're doing it for the wrong reasons. You know, there's all sorts of stuff that we let into our lives for the wrong reasons, because pressures from other people or pressures from society or social media, or whatever it might be. And you end up living this life that you're like, well, I don't really believe in that. You know, that's not really my thing. And I've decided that actually, no, stay true to yourself in every single thing. Don't be kind of just taken along by the flow and the stream of how everything else or everybody else does it. How do I want to do it? And that's even down to riding my motorbike. What do I want to get out of this when I'm riding my motorbike? For me, it's disconnecting. It's that kind of Zen thing of putting your helmet on and being silent in your helmet. And it's so, and for me, it's become almost like a monastic experience. When I rode back up through Italy, I stopped and visited a friend who was in Florence, and I'd ridden all the way from Brindisi all the way up to Florence, and that was one of the longest trips I'd done. I went via Rome, had a bit of lunch there, and then I rode and rode and rode, and I rode for about 10 or 11 hours or something that day. It may have been longer, actually. I think it was longer. So I left at 5 in the morning. Yeah, it was 13 hours. I think about 13 hours in total. And he said, have you just ridden all that way today? You know, are you listening to any music? I said, nothing. And he was like, man, that's like a monastic experience. And I was like, yeah, I guess it is a bit like a monastic experience, where you literally on purpose, you just remove yourself from everything around you. You get your helmet on. It's just you and your thoughts. And that could be quite frightening for us guys at times, isn't it? Just you and your thoughts. But for me, it was absolutely absolutely amazing. And I can't wait to do kind of a long trip like that again. So stay true to yourself. Only do the stuff that you really love doing if you have a choice. Sometimes you have to do stuff that you don't love doing at all. But if you have the choice, do the stuff that really makes you tick. Do the stuff that really means something to you. And don't shortchange yourself by just doing a load of stuff that you don't believe in all the time, because that's not good. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this stuff. When you go riding, what's your thing? Maybe you're one of those guys, you've got your Honda Goldwing and you've got every gadget you can imagine. And I think that's really cool as well. I see a lot of bikes like that at different bike meets and stuff. And I just think, wow, that looks amazing. But not really my thing, but I don't look down on it. But if you're like that, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are you riding for? What is your philosophy of riding? And what's it all about for you? I'd love to hear it. So put it in the comments below. Cheers. See you next time.